First, let's start with this case. I, 34-year-old female, recently went on vacation with my family to our home in North Carolina, which I inherited from my parents. This house is typically rented out as a vacation rental, but due to damage from recent hurricanes, I've been struggling to find renters. To cut down on expenses, I've been handling most of the maintenance work myself. During our stay, my father-in-law, who is in his mid-50s, expressed interest in visiting. I was hesitant, but ultimately agreed, and he flew down to North Carolina to stay in one of the spare bedrooms. Since his financial situation is tight, my husband and I covered all of his meals, both at home and at restaurants during his visit. While we were there, I had a list of maintenance tasks to complete, including fixing running toilets, replacing a sink, and painting the stairs. Initially, I planned to hire a plumber to handle the toilet repairs, which would have cost around $350, and I intended to paint the stairs myself. My father-in-law offered to help, suggesting that he and my husband could take care of both the toilet repairs and the painting. Thinking it might save time and money, I accepted his offer. Unfortunately, during the course of the work, my father-in-law accidentally cracked the bathtub, which now requires additional repairs and has increased my overall costs. At the end of his visit, my father-in-law unexpectedly told me that I owed him $850 for the work he had done. I was caught off guard, as there had been no prior discussion about him charging for his assistance. Considering that we had already provided him with free lodging and meals, and taking into account the extra expense caused by the damaged bathtub, I feel it's unreasonable for him to request this payment. I haven't responded to him yet, but I don't plan to pay the amount he's asking for. Would I be wrong for refusing to pay my father-in-law for the work he did during his visit? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. You did not agree to pay. You had plans to sort this professionally yourself for less money. He offered, presumably in exchange for free lodging and food. He actually cost you more money because of damage he caused. I would try and keep it light and breezy and say if he sends you an invoice, you'll send him yours for the rent, food, and broken bath. Or does he want to call it even and stop being so silly? If he pushes back, be clear that you did not agree a rate and certainly would not have hired him given his poor workmanship and excessive costs when you could have arranged professionals for less money. Make sure your DH is on the same page. You're not in the wrong. Of course you're not the idiot. Your FEL is an idiot for basically trying to scam you out of money by pretending he was just coming for a visit and then demanding for money for help you never asked for. Tell him that technically he owes you money for cracking the bathtub and that he's welcome for the free meals and accommodation. If it were me, he wouldn't be welcome back. You're not in the wrong. That's some entitlement there. You gave him free lodging and food and broke your tub, and he has the nerve to say you owe him. Present him with an itemized bill with the number of nights he stayed at the rate you rented out, the cost of the food he ate, and the cost of the bathtub he cracked, as well as however much it will cost the plumber to come out and swap it out. Deduct the $850 and ask him if he really wants to go that route. Next up, I was flying business class, non-pod seating, on a 6-hour flight from California to Canada. I only brought my laptop bag with me to keep my electronics easily accessible. When I reached my assigned aisle seat, I noticed that the passenger in the window seat had placed his carry-on bag under the seat in front of my seat instead of his own. I politely asked him if he could move his bag to the space in front of his seat. He responded by saying there wasn't enough room for him because he's tall. He then added, "You just have a suitcase, so what's the big deal with putting it in the overhead bin?" I explained that I wanted to keep my laptop within easy reach and preferred to use the space in front of me, as it was my designated area. However, as our conversation continued, other passengers started siding with him, saying that I was being unreasonable. At that point, I calmly pointed out, "Why should you have access to both your space and mine when we both paid for business class seats?" The situation began to escalate, and I was preparing to call over a flight attendant when the window seat passenger reluctantly moved his bag. Even after the matter was resolved, I was surprised and a bit frustrated by how many other passengers had agreed with him. Now I'm left wondering, Was I being unreasonable in this situation? Am I in the wrong for insisting on using the space in front of my seat? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Can't believe people agreed with him. Although when I was flying with my 6 and 8-year-olds, someone put a small carry-on suitcase in front of my 6-year-old, saying she doesn't need much room, and there is no room in the overhead bins. She didn't even ask me, but then also said my daughter should cross her legs as she doesn't want me to rest her legs on it as it have fragile items in it. I told her to move it, and a person behind us said I was being unreasonable. My daughter might not take up as much room, but I paid the same price for her ticket as everyone else. I said to the person behind me to put it in front of them if they felt like helping out so much. Don't stress about it, OP. You haven't done anything wrong. You're not in the wrong. Upon discovering something in my footwell, I would have pulled it out, placed it in the aisle, and called over the FA and reported that someone from the last flight must have left it. Seriously, first rule of air travel: never justify, never explain, never engage. It just leads to arguments, conflicts, and sometimes worse. Immediately call the FA, who will put a stop to such nonsense. And commercial aircraft aren't mini-democracies where PACs get to vote on allocation of resources. You're not in the wrong. This happened to me. I got to the seat and my neighbor had a carry-on in my foot space. I pulled it out and handed to the person. I didn't ask, I don't have time. Next up, my fiancé, 25 female, and I, 25 male, recently welcomed our baby on December 16th. We're both on parental leave and money is tight. Between regular bills, the cost of having a newborn, and holiday expenses from Christmas, things have been financially stressful. Now, here's the situation. My mother's birthday is in the first week of January, and she asked me for a gift. I politely explained that I couldn't afford to buy her a gift this year, or if I did, it would have to be late. I tried to be respectful, hoping she would understand. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Her response was something along the lines of, "I'll forget about your birthday this year then." Honestly, I didn't mind, as I don't care much about celebrating my birthday. However, that response felt unnecessary and only made things more frustrating. When I reiterated that I couldn't get her a gift right now and didn't mind if she ignored my birthday, things escalated. She started blaming my fiancé, accusing her of being the reason I wasn't getting her a gift, and went so far as to label the whole situation as abusive. She implied that we were neglecting or excluding her intentionally, which felt like a serious overreaction. For some context, ever since my fiancé got pregnant in April 2024, my mother has repeatedly tried to make the entire experience about herself. She was upset when my fiancé didn't invite her to prenatal appointments. She got angry when my fiancé and I found out the baby's gender privately. She even made negative comments about the last name we chose for our son. Things reached another level when she complained about my fiancé's mother being in the delivery room while she wasn't allowed in. Throughout the pregnancy, she has made numerous side comments, including calling my fiancé paranoid or outright insulting her by using derogatory terms. I've defended my fiancé every time, but this latest incident feels like it's crossed a line. My mother's behavior is becoming increasingly unreasonable, and it's starting to feel like nothing we do will ever satisfy her. So, am I in the wrong for standing my ground with my mom and prioritizing my fiancé and our newborn during this time? Let's start judging. Oh, where to start? I swear we have the same mother. She is emotionally abusing both you and your fiancé. Perhaps go NC for a while. You are a new dad and need to focus on your new family unit. Let the dust settle and perhaps have a convo alone with your mother. Set boundaries or this negative energy will eat you alive. This whole gift bee is on her part is entitled juvenile and ridiculous. You're not in the wrong. You're not in the wrong at all, and it sounds like your mother is working her way towards being low or no contact, which is a shame considering she has a grandbaby. I know that some people love their birthdays, and some people just don't care about their birthdays. Whatever your thought is on birthdays, you should not cause financial distress for your loved ones to celebrate yourself. Your mother sounds extremely immature and controlling, to be honest. Perhaps she's having issues struggling with the idea of sharing you with your fiancé and now your child, but that's her problem, not yours. You have created a family with someone. As the woman who has had my father-in-law try to bully my husband with a lot of these same issues, please support your fiancé. I'm thankful that my husband always has. But oftentimes we see adult sons who back down to the pressure of their overbearing mothers or fathers, at the detriment of the relationship with their partner and children. I feel like you are trying your hardest not to let that happen. I would set some clear boundaries that you will no longer tolerate the snide comments and the flat-out insults of the mother of your child. I would emphasize the fact that while she's your mom and you'll always love her, the family you have created comes first. And first means there is no room for the hostility she's trying to create. That means no snarky little comments, no calling her a witch, none of it. And I'd make it clear that you will enforce those boundaries if she refuses to comply. She may have given birth to you, but that does not mean that she dominates you for the rest of your life. Good luck to you and congrats on the baby. Next up, earlier this year, my sister found out she was pregnant. This led to her ending her relationship with her ex, who has various personal issues that I can't fully detail here. To complicate matters, he has been threatening to file for custody if she pursues child support, so the situation is very tense and difficult for her. Since then, my sister has moved into my house. I live in a single-story home with a loft. I had been in the middle of remodeling the loft, but when the health crisis ramped up, I put the project on hold. Currently, the loft doesn't have a railing, so we blocked off the stairs using a sturdy puppy gate and have been avoiding going up there. We plan to finish the remodel when it feels safer to have contractors in the house. 3 weeks after her baby was born, our brother came to visit. When he saw the loft without a railing, he panicked, despite us explaining multiple times that the stairs were securely blocked off and there was no risk to the baby. We thought we had cleared things up and that the issue was resolved. However, without telling us, he ended up calling Child Protective Services, CPS, on my sister. CPS came to the house, conducted a full inspection, and interviewed both of us. After checking everything, the agent determined that the living situation was safe and dismissed the case. While it was a relief that nothing came of it, the experience was incredibly stressful, and my sister is worried that this report could be used against her if her ex ever decides to take her to court. As a result, my sister is refusing to speak to our brother. He, on the other hand, is upset because he believes he was doing what was best for our nephew. He thinks I'm too emotionally involved and not being rational when I tell him that what he did was wrong, and I fully support my sister's decision not to let him see the baby. Our father has also sided with him, saying that we're overreacting and that if we had nothing to hide, we shouldn't have been concerned about CPS being involved. I feel stuck in the middle of this conflict. I want to support my sister because I believe what our brother did was unnecessary and harmful, but I also wonder if I'm being too harsh on him by joining my sister and cutting him off. Am I wrong for taking her side and supporting her decision to keep our brother away? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Brother is a controlling dick who clearly has no idea how children work or operate. A 3-week-old kid cannot crawl around or walk. I'm a mandated reporter for CPS at my job, and let's just say I am absolutely eye-rolling at this. This is not something you report to CPS. He needs to mind his own businesses. You're not in the wrong. Maybe instead of calling CPS, your brother should have volunteered to put up a railing for you. You're not in the wrong. Your brother is either a complete idiot or intentionally trying to sabotage your sister for his own reasons. Does he have some weird hang-up about single mothers? Does he side with your sister's ex for some reason? Because that definitely could have sabotaged her efforts to retain full custody and/or gain child support. I don't see why he'd do that if he cared about her at all.